Hi, this is Tom, and in today's episode, we're going to solve problem number 19 from chapter 4-3 in the book Elementary Statistics by Bluman. So first, reading the problem, it says, in a recent year, 8,073,000 male students and 10,980,000 female students were enrolled as undergraduates. Receiving aid were 60.6% of the male students and 65.2% of the female students. Of those receiving aid, 44.8% of the males got federal aid and 50.4% of the females got federal aid. Choose one student at random. Find the probability that the student is A, a male student without aid, B, a male student given that the student has aid, C, a female student or a student who receives federal aid. We're going to begin this problem by constructing a tree diagram, and this will help us to see the problem. This video will probably be two parts, and the first part we'll just set up the tree, and in the second part we'll use our tree to answer the questions. So the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to shrink our screen down here. So that's my intent. There it goes. And I'm going to move this. Oops. And we're going to move this over here to the corner. We're going to need to make a few things. We're going to construct our tree, and we'll start right here in the middle of our screen. First off, we have our student. And the first thing that the problem tells us is that the student can either be a male, and I'm going to abbreviate it with an M, or a female student. Well, right off the bat, what we have to do is let's record what we have. Notice this. We have males. We have 8,073,000. Our females, we have 10,980,000 females. Now, if we add those two together, this is our total number of students. So if we add those two together, and I've already done this, but you should double check, we get 19,053,000 students. So the probability then of randomly picking a male is going to equal the number of males, so that's our 8,073,000. Divide that by the total number of students, so that's 19,053,000. So now I've already done the calculation, but you might want to stop and double check. And I came up with 0.424. So the probability of randomly selecting a male is 0.424. So I'm going to write that on the branch of the tree, my probabilities here. So then the probability of a female, well, we can calculate that as well. Let's move the screen up a little bit. So then I have the probability of a female, and you could calculate it by either writing the 10,980,000 females over the total number of students, or you can just simply say it's 1 minus the percentage. It's 1 minus the percentage of males. So if we do that, we'd say that there's about 0.576. So the probability of randomly selecting a female here is 0.576. Now I'm going to bring this picture down because now it gives us another piece of information, and that is the problem reads, receiving aid were 60.6% of the male students. Okay, so let's make another branch of the tree. So I'm going to bring this up here and give myself a good bit of space. So, and this is my students receiving aid. So of the males, the ones that are receiving aid, that's the probability of that is 0.606. So let's write that on this branch. Now, if they receive aid, they either receive aid or we'll call them no aid. And I'm going to calculate that down here. So the probability of receiving no aid is equal to 1 minus the probability of receiving aid, which we already said was 0.606. Subtract those, we have 0.394. So I'm going to label this branch of my tree as 0.394. Okay? Now, the next thing it says that, let's scroll back up here, it says that 65% of the females receive aid. Okay, so my females, that's down here, so I'm going to make another branch. So we'll have females receive aid, and then down here we'll have no aid. And the females that receive aid, well, they give us that number. They say that's 0.652. So then the probability of receiving no aid would be very simple. So I'll write that down here. The probability of being female without aid, oops, that didn't look very good, of being female without aid is 1 minus the 0.652. In other words, this would be 0.348. So I'm going to label this branch here as well, 0.348. Okay. Now, we have our tree almost done. Now let's read on a little bit more. It says, of those receiving aid, 44.8% of the males got federal aid, and 50.4% of the females got federal aid. Okay, wow. So this gives us another branch to the tree. So let's do that. So this is federal aid. I'm just going to call it federal for short. F-E-D-E-R-A-L. And we don't know what the other aid was, so we'll just call it other. Okay, and it gives us here that of those receiving aid that were male, that was 0.448. And then it says that and 50.4% of the females that received aid got federal aid. So I come down here and I have females that receive aid from federal sources, and that was 50.4% or 0.504. And then we can find the other branches of these trees by simply subtracting these. So 1 minus 0.448, that's going to be 0.552. And then the other branch for females receiving other aid is going to be 1 minus the 0.504, so that's going to be 0.496. Okay, at this point, I'm going to stop. We'll come back to the next video, and we're going to pick up with this tree, because this tree is the key to understanding the entire problem. Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.